They always get that.
Maybe I like this for a little bit. I tried it twice. We're not going to let that go. Yes. What category should I put it in? Fiction or we do.
Okay, we're going to start. I'm the unruliest of the unruly. I think it was in 1997, at least according to my notes, we first started doing this book tag with Andy's wife Lilla. And then Lilla turned it over to Jude, and Jude hangs in there with us every year to tell us what's new, what's old, but has gone from hardback to paperback, what we want to get for our book clubs, what we want to get for gifts, children, young adults, cooks, gardeners. I'm turning it over to Jude so she can tell you, and Rosie's going to help you.
Rosie's going to do the kids' book.
Perfect.
All right.
Okay,
Hey,
let's
Jude. I hope you can hear me. We didn't set up the mic because we thought we wouldn't need it. You can't hear me.
Not really, not really.
I will talk, well, I can't because I gotta hold my books. I gotta know what I'm doing. But I will try and speak loud, and if I go like this, if you still can't hear, how's that? I will project. Okay, we're gonna go in order of the list.
Because I can set it up, but it'll take a bit.
We're fine, I can talk loud. You're the one who can't talk loud. We'll go in order of the list. I was gonna give you the option of switching it around, but heck, there's too many of you. We're gonna go. We got 60 books in 60 minutes. This is speed dating. We're gonna start with hardcover fiction. These are all things I've read and loved this year, and I love the fiction hardcovers. The paperbacks, it was a little harder. So there's a few more hardcovers than paperbacks this year. Starting with Rabi Almadine, the true story of Raja the Gullible and his mother. Raja lives in Beirut with his mother. She's 80 years old, he's 63. He's a high school philosophy teacher, and it's during the troubles in Beirut. He's got a hard life. He goes through all kinds of, ups and downs. He gets stuck in, he's at one point taken as hostage and lives in a little basement room by himself for a very long time. It's a wonderful story, wonderfully told. Robbie tells a story like nobody else. And it's different, it's well written, it's a lot of fun, it's worth your time. It's been nominated for the National Book Award. Loneliness of Sonia and Sonny. Curran Desai wrote Inheritance of Loss, which I know a lot of book clubs read and loved. This is the story of two young people who are from India. One is going to college in New York, the other in Vermont. Their families sort of want them to get together. They try and set up an arrangement where they meet. Things don't go as planned, and they have a very roundabout way of coming together in the end. But it is about being lonely, being an immigrant, being somewhere where you don't belong, and trying to find where it is you should be and who you should be with. I chose this one because we all need something light. This is I See You Called In Dead by John Kenny. This is the story of a young man who writes obituaries. He works at a big paper, and that's what he does. And one night he's so depressed by his last blind date that he writes his own obituary. And then he pushes the button and he publishes it. And things go downhill. It's quite clever, it's laugh out loud funny, and we need lightness in our life right now. Art the Lover by Lily King. This is sort of a prequel to Writers and Lovers. It's the story of three young people in college. They meet in a class. The one woman's attracted to the one man. They get together, but it's the other guy who's really of interest. This is a love story for people like me who really don't like love stories. It works on so many levels, and it's just one that you sit down and you read it. You don't stop. That's a good thing in a book. Guardian and a Thief takes place a little bit in the future. This is a family in India. The father has immigrated to Ann Arbor after climate disaster, and everybody's trying to get out of Kolkata. And it's the mother, her 2-year-old, and her father. And they have their papers, they have everything ready, and they lose the paperwork that they need. And so it's 2 days of trying to pull it together and get it together. Meanwhile, the father dies. That's just so many things go wrong, and yet it's really compelling reading and very interesting story. Ian McEwan has written one of my favorites this year. I don't always love him, but this is a wonderful book. It is set in the future, 2119 in the first half, and then it reverts to 2014 in the second half. In the first half of the book, you're with some academics who are living in what's left of the world on high islands because everything else is underwater. Nigeria is in control of the internet. If you want to get anywhere, you go by boat. It's not an easy thing to be an academic. It's not an easy thing to be alive. But this guy has discovered that there was a poem written in 2014 by a famous poet, and it was delivered to his wife at her birthday dinner and disappeared. There's no copy of it. And he's obsessed with this poem. So it's his take on how to research this, how to find out what's going on. And as luck would have it, 2014 comes the next piece, and you get to find out what really happened at that dinner and with that poem, and why it is he can't find it now. Leah Motley is from Oakland. I love her. This book is her sophomore effort. I was surprised at how good it is. It's the story of a young woman who is sent to Florida to live with her grandmother because she's pregnant, and her parents don't approve of getting rid of babies. They're going to have this baby, and she's going to live with this for the rest of her life. And so she is in this small coastal town, and there is a group of girls who are sort of hanging out, a little on the wild side, a little crazed. They are the girls who have already had their kids or are, they've left school, they're in school, they've got babies and kids, and they care very much about those children. It's important to them. It's the center of their life. So she falls in with this crowd, growing bigger by the day, and they take care of her. It's sort of a found family kind of situation, but it's really lovely how they come together. Girls who grow big, I think, means that they're going to keep growing. They're going to fit in the world. They're going to find their place. It's not an easy read, but it's very redemptive. Bog Queen is a lot of fun. It's told in 2 different voices. It starts with a woman who is a forensic dental expert. And there's been a bog body found, and they think it's a murder that had happened a couple years ago, and they need her to identify the teeth and say, yes, that's who this is. The second story going on is there is a queen why am I losing my words? A queen of ancient times who is traveling through the bog to visit the warlord and try and make peace and have their village live happily ever after. So you've got the forensic person, you've got the ancient person, and their stories intertwine because, of course, the body that's found is not the body of the murder victim, it's someone who died thousands of years ago. Here's another one that is for fun. Stuart Onan, Evensong. This is the story of a group of ladies of a certain age who have formed a club called the Humpty Dumpties because what they fear most is falling. The leader of the group has taken a fall and people have to step up and help out. So their group is kind of, if you need groceries, if you need your prescription picked up, if you need a visit to the hospital, then they go and do it. So it's quite light, it's very fun, it's very fast. One of the people in it is a singer in the choir and hence Evensong. Dream State is another set in the not too distant future, Montana. It starts where a young woman is about to get married to her future husband, and it's on his family camp ranch in Montana. Well, things go astray and she ends up with the person who was supposed to be marrying them. And then further into the storyline, you get all of the disasters of climate change, and it's quite hard to read in that it feels too true. All of the things that he imagines as climate disasters are very close at hand, and yet there's this triangle love story thing that's not at all schmaltzy and a lot of fun. Ocean Vuong, I think this should be winning awards, and it hasn't been nominated enough. The Emperor of Gladness. Gladness is the name of the town. The Emperor is the young man, I think. He never says as much, but it's a young Vietnamese man who has been seriously into drugs, out of drugs, has told his mother he's going off to med school when in fact he's nowhere near at that stage of his life. He's decided he can't live with this lie anymore. He's walking over a railroad bridge thinking about how he's going to jump in and end it all when he sees a little old lady on the other side saying, hey, 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 I need help. And she gets him to come, and eventually they are another found family. He moves in to help her. She's old, she needs somebody around. He can do what she needs to do, and it goes off on a tangent from there. But really beautiful writing. You cannot believe how this man can write. It just sings, and it's really worthy. And we'll end on another silly fun one. Just Walter's So Far Gone. This starts out, This is a man who has been living in the woods by himself for the last several years. He threw his phone away, he quit the world, and then suddenly someone's knocking at his door with these two kids. And he doesn't recognize these kids because he hasn't seen them for several years. They're his grandchildren, and they have come to stay because their mother's in trouble, has left town, and the father is off on a cult tangent, and he has to rescue everyone. But it's hysterically funny. I mean, really laugh out loud. And it's got an awful lot of left politics, and it's just a lot of fun. Okay, how am I doing time-wise? We're on to paper fiction. Okay, if you were here last year, I claimed this book is one of my favorites. It's in paper now, it's still one of my favorites. Set me 1800s? Must be 1800s, I should have looked again. Where Scotland is clearing their small islands to bring in cattle and sheep and so on and so forth. This is a young preacher, just married, needs to make a living, takes a job to go out and to one of these islands and remove the remaining person. Well, he gets to the island, he immediately falls off a cliff. And the only remaining person on the island takes care of him. So it's a story of their relationship. It's learning a new language. It's mourning the wife that isn't there anymore. It's got everything. And it's short and sweet and quick. Heaven and Earth Grocery Store. This is another one that's many, many layered. James McBride is very, very funny, but he also writes about serious things. So this is a small portion of Philadelphia, Chicken Hill, where the residents are mostly Black African Americans, Jewish, and immigrants. And the main characters are the Jewish man who runs the local theater, his wife who has the Heaven and Earth grocery store that provides for everybody, and Nate and Dodo, who are Nate is sort of a black bad guy, but he's good, and Dodo is the young deaf boy who the state is trying to take away. Mm-hmm. Well, the wife who runs the Heaven and Earth grocery store decides she's going to help Dodo, and it's that story. It starts on a different tact and comes back around at the very end to explain the very beginning. I don't want to give too much away here, but it's a lot of fun, and you will have a good time with that. Morningside. I love Tia Obrecht. She's a remarkable writer, and I like really weird stuff, and this one's pretty weird. Again, set in the future, things are mostly underwater. It seems to be a theme, underwater future. But the Morningside is a hotel where she and her mother move after they've left the hinterlands. And you don't know why they've left, and her mother seems to have some secrets, and they've moved in with her aunt, this mother's sister, and the mother's sister seems to want to bring her up to date and tells her folk stories and sort of brings her up to where she came from, how she came to be. Well, the young woman just sort of begins to obsess with someone else who lives in this hotel who has 3 dogs, and she's convinced that there's some sort of supernatural thing going on. It's a wild, very crazy story, but very compelling reading and very well written. Forgotten on Sunday, Valerie Perrin wrote Freshwater from Flowers. This is translated from the French, story of a young woman just out of high school who goes to work at an old folks home and connects with one of the women patients there, And it's just a lovely story of how she opens up to her, and the young woman takes what she's told and runs with it, and it's a real charmer and not corny. Richard Powers is a bit of a, I don't want to say prima donna, but he's special, and he writes really interesting books that cover many, many things. If you read Overstory about trees, you sort of know where it's going. This is Playground, and this is set in the water as opposed to trees. And you learn an awful lot of things you never thought you would learn from fiction, but it's all true. And it's the story basically of two young boys who meet in high school and play Go and chess and eventually create video games. And then there's a little side story going on with a octogenarian woman who is a diver, who I think is based on Sylvia Earle. And you've got the white guy from the team who is got dementia and is trying to create island spaces that will float on the water where people can live in bubbles kinds of things. And there's a Polynesian island where the other young man has settled that is going to be producing those bubble places if the islanders decide that that's what they want to do. So there's this huge tension and a lot of interesting facts to learn as well. When Cranes Fly South. This is a book that while I read it, I didn't love it. And then when I got to the end and thought about it, it was really very good. It's the story of an older man whose wife has gone into a dementia ward. He's living alone. He's got caretakers who come in, and he has a dog that he dearly loves. And his son wants to take the dog away because he's too old to take care of the dog. And so it's an old man and a dog story, but then there's also a lot of family dynamics and learning how to be old and coming to grips with what age is and how we live a full life. Really quite well done. Sally Rooney, this was last year's big hardcover, now in paperback. Two brothers, one a chess prodigy, the other a famous lawyer, both trying to come to grips with the death of their father in very different ways. Elizabeth Strout's latest in paper, Tell Me Everything. You know I'm a huge fan of Elizabeth Strout. I finally realized why people like soap operas. Because you get the character and you follow them for years and years and years. Well, that's what you do with Elizabeth Strout. And so this is the story of Bob Burgess meeting Lucy Barton, and in the meantime, Olive Kittredge is in there too. Every single character she's written shows up in this book, and it's done very well. It's just the story itself is just wonderfully written and easy, fun. And last on the paper fiction, I threw in this because I want you to know there is this lovely edition of Little Life by Hannah Yanagara. I hope I'm saying that right. Which is it's one of those books that when you read it, it stays with you forever. It's very traumatic. It's almost trauma porn kind of thing. But it is beautifully written, and really, I remember it X number of years later. Four young men met in college. This is their lives in Manhattan after their college years. And it's just such a pretty package. I thought you should know about it. Okay, turn the page. How am I time? Nobody? Okay, I'm doing all right. I'm gonna go a little fast. Try not to talk. Okay. I'll start with Water Remembers. Amy Bowers-Cordalis is an attorney and an activist with the Yurok Nation. She started her career as a fish biologist kind of thing, and was one of the people who was there when the huge fish kill on the Klamath River happened. That's what propelled her to become an attorney, and she was the one who led the fight to get 4 dams removed from the Klamath River. She's a good storyteller. She knows a lot about the ecological systems in California, and this is a very interesting read. Raising Hare, one of my favorites. This is a nature story where a woman is out taking a walk in the English countryside. She has a little house. It's COVID, things are locked down. She sees a tiny leveret, which is a baby hare, just sitting in the pathway. And she says, oh, okay, I won't bother it, I'll walk around. 4 hours later, she comes back and it's still there. So she said, all right, I don't really want to impose myself, but I'll take it home overnight. And so she picks it up with grasses so that she doesn't smell like anything, takes it home and tries her very best to not interfere with the hare. And it's just a charming story in the way that she lets it be its wild self and yet does take care of it and invests herself in this animal and yet still doesn't cross that line. It's very nicely done. I wish I could do that. I get too wound up. John Freeman is an editor at Random House. This is not a Random House book, it's local. Heyday. And California Rewritten is his collection of essays about California authors. And when I first opened it, I thought I was reading something by each one of these authors, but in fact, it's essays that he has written about each one. And they're just wonderful. You only have to read the one on Ada Limon to just fall in love. And there's, at the end, he gives 99 other California authors that you might want to look at. If you are a book group and want to go on a quest, this would be a wonderful way to look at authors that you might want to choose for future reference. Okay, this is my favorite, I can say that. Place of Tides by James Rebank. He wrote Shepherd's Life.
You forgot one.
The Beast.
You forgot one.
You skipped
What did I
The Beast.
forget? I'm out of order?
The Beast
Yeah.
in the Clouds. You can go to that one in a minute. You
Where
need to
am
do The
I?
Beast first.
The Beast in the Clouds. I'm out of order. Sorry. Okay, this one's crazy. This is the Roosevelt brothers, Ted and what's his name? I wrote it down so I wouldn't forget, but now I can't find my notes. Now, Teddy Roosevelt's sons decided to go on a quest and find the giant panda. 1,000 miles on foot, 5 months. Whether or not if they find it, you have to read the book to find out. Okay, back to my favorite. Place of Tides. Oh, this is such a sweet one. James Rebank is a shepherd in the Hebrides somewhere. But in any event, he went to Norway and was at a conference and happened to meet a woman who was what they call a duck lady, and was fascinated by her and went and talked to her later and said, can I come back and see what you do? So he went to the Place of Tides, which is an island off Norway where she spends the summer. This is her last summer there. She's retiring, where she takes care of the eider ducks, and then at the end of the season goes around to the various nests and collects the eider down that is used to make eiderdown blankets and what have you. But it's just one of those human interest stories that would be on the end of 60 Minutes if they had the sense to do it. But Anna is just wonderful, and he is very open, and it's hard life. It's a really hard life, and yet it's an old way of doing things, and she did it, and he got to watch. Adventures in the Louvre. If you are a Paris person, if you are a Francophile on any level, this is really a lovely book. It is essentially a guidebook to the Louvre that you can read either before you go, if you're never gonna go, whatever it is. It's one of those that works, that it's a travel book, but it's a very specific. I'm not speaking very clearly. She has chapters about looking for the food in the paintings, looking for the animals in the paintings. She guides you throughout the museum, and yet she tells you all the history and the background of everything as well. She talks to the 52-man firefighters who live on the premises to take care of a fire that might happen. But then she explains that fire is not really the problem, water's the problem, and talks about the leaks that happened. It's a lot of fun, and it is the perfect gift for someone who is a Paris nut. And there's a lot of them. Okay, am I in order?
So far, so
Feather,
good.
No, Feather Detective, this way. Okay, this is Roxy Laybourne, was one of the first women to work as a scientist at the Smithsonian. I wrote down the date, but of course I won't find it. 1944, she became a taxidermist. Her specialty is birds, skinning birds. And I don't make faces. And from there, she became sort of a forensic person who could analyze feathers and see, you know, this feather matches this bird, and this must be what happened. She started that with bird strikes in airplanes and plane crashes, and then eventually murder cases and what have you. But she's a fascinating woman, and if you know someone who, especially up-and-coming STEM kids, who are interested in women who have made their own way and who have made things work, this is a really good book for them. Truth That Is Not Peace. Miriam Taves has been a favorite of mine for a very long time. She writes mostly fiction, not always. This is sort of a memoir. It starts where she is invited to a conference in Mexico, and the theme is, why do you write? So that's what she tries to do, is say, why do I write? But it doesn't work like that for her. She never does get to why does she write. She reminisces and she ponders and she thinks, and she had some serious issues in her life. Her sister committed suicide, as did her father, and those things resonate with her for a long time, and she can't let go of it, and consequently, this is the book that came from that. But she, you know, she's got grandkids who she loves. She's a joyful person. She sees good everywhere, and it's a different way of looking at things, but it's very well done. Heart-Shaped Tin, B. Wilson. She has written some wonderful food books, and this one is sort of about food. It's about kitchen objects. The Heart-Shaped Tin is the tin that she used to make her wedding cake. And she saved it for years because she was going to make a 25th anniversary cake when that time came. Well, Her husband left her at 23 years old. But she made the cake anyway. But there's all kinds of different objects that belong to different people. There's people who can't use their good china, and then they realize, oh, but I'm mortal and my mom's gone and I'm gonna use this china anyway. And so it's all of the little kitchen things that bring up memories, and they're different people with different objects and different memories. Lovely book. Am I almost there? Nonfiction. Okay. Quicker, huh? Meditation for Mortals. I'm not much of a self-help person, but this book is really quite a good one. It's embracing imperfections in your life, and it is a week by week. It is 4 weeks to embrace limitations, and literally every week he tells you, okay, this is your week that you're going to do this. It's good for kids, it's good for adults, it's good for old people. I say we all need this. Where am I going now? Everything she touched. All right, if you didn't get to the Ruth Azawa exhibit, you want to read this book. And if you did get there, you want to read this book. It's a biography of her, and it is about her early childhood when she was in an internment camp, and that's where she learned to draw perspective, because some of the Disney artists were also in that internment camp. She tried to get a teaching credential, and she was denied because of her race. She eventually became an art teacher, and she had 6 kids and was a full-time mom and a full-time artist. And the nice thing about this book is there's a lot of letters, there's a lot of her artwork. Many of the pictures were taken by Imogen Cunningham, who was a very good friend. She was a really interesting woman, and she deserves the time. Dinosaurs at the dinner party. They didn't discover the first dinosaur until the 1800s, which surprised me. I don't know what they were doing before then. But this is very short chapters about many different things in that time period. Mary Annick, who was the fossil finder, who was never really credited with any of her finds. And then the dinner party one was this guy who was a sculptor, and the Crystal Palace was going to open, the Victoria and Albert were going to be the big hoo-has. So on New Year's Eve, before that happened, he invited everyone to his studio. Not everyone. He invited the men of the town, the scientists and the important people, to come and have dinner at his studio inside one of the dinosaurs that he was building. So he actually served dinner in the dinosaur. So it's a lot of little dinosaur facts, a lot of crazy science people, and a lot of fun. November 1942. This was the month where things sort of changed, Axis to Allies. And Peter England is a Swedish historian. He believes that history should not be altered, it should be told as it is. And so he has taken people's accounts from November and delivered them. So you're getting everybody from Albert Camus to a housewife in Long Island to a prisoner in Treblinka. And it's pieces of what they had to say, how they experienced that month. An interesting way of looking at history. Book and Dagger, also World War II. Bill Donovan started the OSS, soon to become the CIA, and his thought was there's an awful lot of stuff that has to get done that is minute and researchy, And so he went and found academics and librarians and people to do that kind of work. It is mostly the story of three different people. Adele Kibre, who was an archivist at University of Chicago, and she went to Sweden, I wrote it down, yeah, to collect printed matter. And then Joseph Curtis, professor at Yale, who went to Istanbul under cover of looking for books for Yale, but he was really doing a lot of the research and that kind of work. And then Sherman Kent, who was a very precision kind of guy. He really liked the tiny facts, and he spent his war figuring out what was the optimal number of pellets in an aircraft carrier shell. You know, crazy stuff like that that no one else would be bothered with. Not very James Bondy, but nonetheless important to the war effort. All right, which way? This way. A memoir from Daniel Handler, who you may know as Lemony Snicket. So when I started this book, I thought it was a book on writing, and it is, but it's about his writing life. So the title says a lot. And then, what else? Which is how, when you read the Lemony Snickets, that's how they went. But it's about his love of words. He's a huge fan of Baudelaire's Flowers of Evil, which is where the kids came from in the Lemony Snicket books. And it's a good memoir that's worth your time. Okay, Every Valley. I presented the hardcover last year because I really liked it a lot. It's the story of how Handel's Messiah was written and what was going on during that time. So it is a straightforward history, but lots of little sidebars of who was who and what was what. Mayor of Tenderloin, I also presented in hardcover last year. Del Seymour is a guy who did everything wrong and then did everything right. He was a pimp, he was a drug dealer, he was homeless, and then he realized that he could turn his life around and he could also make things easier for other people who were in his world. So he still lives in the Tenderloin, he's still doing what he does, and he's quite a character and worthy. And the last on this page is Greyhound, a memoir, which is, we keep in the travel section because it's about traveling on a Greyhound bus. She's a Canadian who had, in 2006, had a miscarriage and her sister died, and she was going through this grieving process, and she decided maybe what she needed to do was get away. So she got on a Greyhound bus and she went from Detroit to Los Angeles. And she met interesting people who all wanted to engage, who were, you know, they were on a bus for a reason. They couldn't afford a car, they needed to get where they had to go with, and they had too many DUIs to do it, and that kind of thing. Well, then she decided at the end of COVID to recreate that trip. And so this is the story of the first trip and the second trip. And on the second trip, she found it was still the same kind of people, but nobody wanted to engage. There was a lot of distrust and anger and so on and so forth. It's a very interesting story. And, you know, it's perfect. And Rose, you want to do kids and then we'll do this? Because I need to not talk so much.
See if I'm in order. Before I really get going, I just wanted to remind everybody about our Bookstar program. So every year, if you're not familiar, we run a drive. Basically, you guys can purchase a kid's book, any kid's book as long as it's a new one, and give it back to us, and then we distribute it to various organizations in the Valley who work with kids who can get these books into those hands. These are kids who probably never have a book, definitely never get a new book. So it's really important to give that to them, and it's my favorite time of year, and it's a lovely thing to do. You can tell we already have some stars on the wall here. I always have the goal of trying to beat last year, and it was 750 last year, so let's do it. They're picking up books pretty early this year too, so I'm just trying to tell everybody I possibly can. So just to dive right in with picture books, The Coziest Place on the Moon. This is just such a weird little book, and it has just beautiful illustrations. One thing about it is that it's actually kind of based on true facts. So I read it, first time I read it, I was like, these are two adorable, cute little creatures who meet on the moon, and we're talking about loneliness and friendship. What are you talking about? It's based on a true story. It's based on little pits in the moon where you just get a little bit of light, and one person could hang out there. You could hang out on the moon. You can see what I mean about this like gorgeous, gorgeous art going on here. This little creature goes to the moon because they're lonely and they're feeling overwhelmed and they want to find a place for themselves. But when they find that place, they end up being just a little bit more lonely as well. And they hear another critter and they start to meet up with one another. And then they realize, I also need some time to myself. So they kind of hang out parallel to each other and check in with each other. It's just adorable, lovely book. I think it's a really great read aloud. There's a lot of discussion there to sort of sit with what does it mean to make a friend? What does it mean to hang out together without having to talk the whole time? It's a very sweet one. Go in here now. Before she was my grandmother, admittedly I'm a little bit pandering here because I think that a lot of people here might be grandmothers. This is the story of the author's grandmother, whose name is Alice, and she shows her granddaughter the collection of things she's had throughout her life and the story of her life, that she was disabled as a kid, that she had her sisters with her all the time, but then she was sent away to a school all by herself, and she had to take her treasures with her. And they're just talking about that, and I think it's so important for kids to realize, like, my grandparents are people, our parents are people, they had these lives which are so different from me, and then they met my grandpa, and then they had their kids, and then their kids had kids, and here we are together. And it's both the story about a very specific woman and a specific family, but it's also that connection between the two of them. Sorry. Then this one, oh dear, look what I got. This is just such a lovely a little bit old-fashioned kind of picture book where this poor kid is going from different errands to different errands. He's trying to get specific things. So he wants to go to the shop to get a hat, but oh dear, they gave me a cat. And then it keeps going like that. He keeps getting the wrong objects. And then finally, in the end, there's a party with all the people who are getting him the wrong objects, and then the critters with him. So it does turn out well, but this is a great little rhyming story. I ordinarily don't like rhymes, but this is a really good one for reading together with some kids. And then when I first got to read this book, I showed it to every single member of staff who was in, and then I waited the next day and I showed my mom. So this one is just a beautiful story about a grandpa and his grandkid who are spending a quiet day together. So it has just these beautiful, quiet illustrations. It has these wonderful moments. The thing that stuck in my head quite a bit was the sentence, we watch a shy sunflower giggle in a breeze. And just thinking about the way you can play with words like that with a kid makes you think, oh, they do giggle. Like, that is beautiful. And they go through their city together, just a nice, quiet day with one another. Beautiful, beautiful illustrations. If you guys can take a look at some point. It's just that little path through a day. And the last picture book, which I'm so excited, it's actually not out until Tuesday, and it came in today, so I can give you guys a quick look. A little girl and her mom are making banana bread, but they're out of bread, so they have to go, they're out of bananas, excuse me. So they have to go to the store, and you can tell how enthusiastic both of them are about going to the store, because the little girl points out it's boring, your mom just chats with everybody, and the mom goes, I have to keep an eye on you the whole time. And of course the little girl finds out, while they're chatting, I could find a cart myself, and I could find the bananas myself. So, where's the bananas? Where's my kid? And just the story of both of them flipping out a little bit is pretty great. She ends up going on a big running with the cart. She ends up finding the bananas to a great deal of disaster, and they end up making their banana bread. The poor mom had to buy all the bananas, so she's making quite a bit. And then moving on to middle grade, these are readers who are about 8 to 12. It's a really, really interesting time period for this type of book. As I bet many of you know, reading levels are getting kind of confusing these days because reading abilities are going down. COVID caused a lot of problems with schooling, and then the eternal funding issue means that we're always trying to find something that everyone can like. And this year, I think they've done a fantastic set of books here. Dan Geimenhart, I hope I said that right, wrote one of our favorites, Coyote Sunrise. This one is about a 12-year-old boy who lives with his grandpa in a retirement home. So this kid has been raised there his whole life. He keeps talking like he's from the 50s. He's an expert card player. He's very good at gin. He goes to all these funerals because he knows all these older people. And then he ends up going on an adventure with an ex-mobster who he has to break out of his retirement home. So hopefully he can raise the money that his granddad needs to pay the extra rent that's gone on. It's just a wild, wild ride of a romp. It's a lot of fun. You guys are always asking me for boy books. I wouldn't necessarily say this is directly for boys only, but it is a main character of a little boy, so it's a fun one. The Chronicles of Weatherwide, this is meant to be a series. There's going to be more, they promised me. I'm very happy about that. It's an interesting response to the idea of going to a magical school. So I'm sure all of you guys are familiar with the history of magical schools. And thinking about it now, you really want to have a school where kids want to go to the school. The teachers are good teachers and are supportive, but you still need a plot. So this is about twins, one of which has the magic that means she can go to the school, and the other one does not. So they're trying to still maintain their close twinship and their friendship, but also going these different paths, and at the same time, there's a mysterious threat to both the school and the magic community. This one works really well if you're on the younger end of middle grade, but also if you're having trouble with reading, it has a good amount of steam to it. It keeps going and moves forward. And then speaking of, the Academy is very much I like sports. I like to be outside. I might not want to read a book. This is for that kid. It's about a soccer star in a really small town who everything he has going for him is the soccer. And finally, he gets the opportunity to join a special school in London that only 11 people can go to. And it's this competition. It's written by a soccer dad. So the guy who coaches all the Little League teams, whatever the soccer equivalent of Little League is, I don't know. And it's it's just that really nice story, that sports story that still deals with what kids are dealing with. So bullying and going to different places and learning who you are. It's a series, 2 books in the series are out right now. I think they have 5 or 6. And then this one, Dragonborn, it's another good magical school situation with a similar level of you're finding yourself, you're going in there, and there's actually supportive adults, which is surprisingly not present in a lot of magical school stories. So this is about a girl who lives with her mom. She's such a strict mom with all these rules, and she finds out later that there's all of these rules because actually she can turn into a dragon if she gets upset. So her mother, who knows that, goes, yeah, I don't want that to happen. We're gonna cage you in until we can figure this out. This is about both of them figuring out, oh, you can be a cool person and still have all of these things going on. To talk a little bit faster, I'm sorry. Rebecca Stead, she's one of my very favorite middle grade authors. This one is about a family of aliens who are part of an experiment to live in New York City. And then the son of the family starts growing a tail. So obviously this causes some problems for them, and they have to go back to the alien ship. They're having this issue with disappearing children who are supposed to be the aliens, and they're not showing up where they're supposed to be. The things that sort of happen in the background of Rebecca Stead's books are always very important to me. This is very much an immigration story, very much a disappearing kid story. It's got a lot of what's going on now without really like hitting a kid over the head with the story. Plus, he grew a tail. It's just really funny. Now we're moving to young adult. On Again, Awkward Again is about high school freshmen, which is really nice. There's not a lot of books right now that are the lower end of young adult, so this one's a great story about two kids who meet their first day of the freshman year, but they fall in love, first sight, everything like that. But it's also really awkward because they're freshmen in high school. So someone does something kind of off, so they can't talk to each other ever again. It's too embarrassing. And then back and forth. It has a lot of this idea of what do you do when you're about 14 and you're starting to feel these horrible, crazy things. Really great book. And so going back to kind of the school situation, dark academia is a big trend right now amongst teenagers and young adults and adults that are adults but they're young. They're not teens, it's confusing. This is set in a boarding school. It's about 5 kids who are very specially picked to work underneath a special playwright. And it's this psychological thriller in some ways of what she's trying to get them to do and what they're trying to do to each other. There's a lot of like drama, a little bit of like thrills to it. It's a good read for people who like scary stories and they like intellectually scary stories. So fun one. And then speaking of scary stories, A Girl Walks Into the Forest is kind of the required fantasy read on the young adults for me. It's about this young woman who is being sent as a tribute to this lord who lives in the middle of a forest. She walks in, she's very spoiled, she's very pretentious, ends up getting attacked by a mysterious beast and is injured and scarred, and the Lord no longer wants her the same way. It's got a lot of the idea of feminism and what does it mean to be wanted for one thing and then you end up losing that. There's a lot here. I would definitely say upper young adult. We don't want to give this to a 13-year-old, but it's still worth reading and worth discussing. And then the last one, this is a really cool book for just sort of the way it's written. You can see here. It is about 2 teenagers who, they don't know who each other are. They just know that they find an old astronomy book, which is completely inaccurate, in the library, and one of them starts drawing on it, and the other one gets mad at her for drawing on it and uses Post-its to talk back. They nickname each other after different astronomers, Copernicus and Kepler. They're in Green Bank, West Virginia, where you're not allowed to have cell phones. So this is how they're talking back and forth. They're trying to solve a mystery about Copernicus's mother and how she had this book that they're writing back and forth in. She's in the checkout page on the library. And where has she gone and what happened to her? What was this secret that happened there? The whole thing is on this old textbook, drawn on there with their conversation in there. It's a really lovely put together thing. That's the kids section.
Read it real quick. Different cookbooks, and these are just, there's many more things, but these are just some of the highlights. I had to. I'm sorry, I had to. It's out in paperback, it's been years, it's in their words, it's old pictures, it's the Beatles, come on. Anthony Bourdain, we have a reader. If you haven't read all of his books, this is a nice gift edition. It's got many different bits. I especially liked Thanksgiving, a tactical primer, where he tells you to have a little show turkey and then a business turkey. So it's really a lot of fun because it's him. Okay, Steph Curry has a book out. It's mostly photographs. It's mostly, it's more inspiration than anything else. But there's an awful lot of fans, and I think you might want to take a look at this. This would be a great book for a kid as well, because it's pretty, and it's got a lot of pictures so they don't feel like they have to read too many words. Feline. Kim Platch did a dog book years ago. that is just phenomenal. This man takes pictures of animals that are just really hard to fathom. They are so very special. And so if you have a cat person in your life, you might want to look at this, or you might want to give it as a gift. It's a beauty. It's a lot of money. But it's something, I mean, that's a coffee table book you really wouldn't mind having on the coffee table. If you're a dog person, Allison Friend is an artist who does these delightful pictures of made-up dogs. And her little quotes, okay, this says, "I don't know anything about any donut." They're just quite lovely and very dog-like. Is it stick next?
Wow.
It's, okay, this is by the same people who have done Artist Palette and Nature's Palette. And this is a book of clouds that is art inspired. And it is absolutely gorgeous. I've got one and I'm not giving it up, but there are a couple here to sell. Okay. After clouds can stick. Now this one's for fun. You've got a white elephant party you need to go to, a secret Santa. This is a book of sticks. And they're classified. There's animal sticks, artifact, artillery, bludgeon, cane. That's just the first page. And then there's pictures of sticks. This I like. This is a stick store that somebody made. And then people, dogs with sticks, of course, but people who have found their sticks. It's just, why not? Sticks. Okay. Or if you don't want that kind of silly, how about start with the teapot, which is a book of drawings, how to, and literally, how do you draw an elephant? Draw a teapot. Add eyes and tusks, a big body, finish it off with a tail, 4 legs, and ta-da, there's your elephant. And then the next page is, how do you draw a horse? You start with an elephant. It's just so much fun. It's silly, but it's delightful. And then we have a few cookbooks. 6 Seasons of Pasta. This is the guy who did 6 Seasons of Way of Vegetables. And now he has done the same thing with pasta. It does tell you how to make the noodles, but it's really more about the various sauces. And it's seasonal. So here we are in fall with Brussels sprouts, with sun-dried tomatoes and almond pesto. Yes, please. This is a really pretty one and quite well done. Now, I love Sabine more than I can say. She wrote Salt, Fat, Acid, Heat. This is a book that she doesn't really believe in recipes, but she wrote this book of recipes because people always ask her, well, how do you do that? But she also does these really interesting things where she says, okay, boiled spring vegetable matrix. And she gives you a list of this and then what to do with that, and then you choose one from this column, and so on. And her ideas about food and cooking are just so very interesting. During COVID, she met with her neighbors on a weekly basis. She suggests everyone do the same, and they cook together and eat together. And that's just one I thought looked really good. And then cookies, another New York Times person, Ron Breland. I mean, it's coming up to cookie time, right? So this one's beautiful. Chewy lemon rosemary cookies, orange pistachio and chocolate shortbread, chewy brownie cookies. Yeah, it's beautifully illustrated, and the recipes are not hard to just follow the recipe. That's what you do with baking. And then I cheated and added one last one because it came in today. It's on sale on Tuesday. It's Allison Roman. I sat down and looked through every single page. She can do no wrong, but some of her soups, I have to buy this book. They're just gorgeous. This one, dilly bean stew with cabbage and frizzled onions. Pork noodle soup with toasted garlic and greens. Yeah. The pictures are stunning. The recipes, she's always easy. I mean, you don't have to go searching. And it's mostly pantry stuff. It's stuff you have in the house already.
What's the title?
So that's an addition, Something from Nothing, and it's on sale on Tuesday, and I do have signed copies. And by God, we made it. What time is it? Did we-
7:01.
Books are available for you to look at if you like. We're here to answer questions.